Hello again. I'd like to introduce you to my review of the Hornby Class 67 locomotive, and we're looking at the EWS 67025, currently available through the retail channels. It's a DCC ready locomotive, and so as part of my review I will be looking at covering off the Class 67 sound module. This is the Dcc Sound Module for this locomotive. So it comes just DCC ready, but we'll actually in the run out we'll actually take a look at the sound module installed as well, so we'll be covering that off. There's been a long line of the Class 67s from Hornby, and I think they've been gradually improving, and the most recent additions to that stable I think are the best that they've done so far, both in terms of the detailing, the lighting and the actual running. So this is one of those, and we'll take a good look at this now and just see how she runs later on, and we can look at it from a scoring perspective. So let's get this unboxed and we can get down and a bit more detailed. Okay, we've just taken it out of the box here, and it's in this ice cube type packaging, if I call it that, which I actually do like. This is a good type of packaging for a locomotive. It kind of avoids any potential damage to the locomotive. So we'll just pop them out here and take a look. Actually, first off, let's take a quick look at the documentation that you get. This is the basic sheet that you would get with any of the Hornby locomotives. It just talks about basic operation and maintenance, and also about installation of the DCC modules and installation of the detailing kit. And you get a pretty good detailing kit with alternative couplers, etc. in here. So that's all there. So it's just the basic information that you need. Now, as I'm covering the sound module as well, we'll take a look at what the sound module actually documentation is. And as I've said on some of my other reviews, I actually do like the level of documentation that comes with the Hornby sound modules. So there's a good level of detail in here, and also, most important of all, is the list of all of the sounds. And I suppose one of the things to note is it's a pretty comprehensive list. So in keeping with a lot of their TTS locomotives, Hornby do provide quite a lot of different sounds with the locomotive, and they really do make the best of the TTS offering. So we'll get to hear these later on, and it would be interesting to compare these to say a DCC type locomotive. So a nice piece of documentation. I do like it. I think it's comprehensive, and this is what you get with the TTS sound module when you purchase it. Okay, so let's take a look inside the casing here. We'll just pop this guy out. So there's a nice protective feel to this. And the first thing I suppose to note when I take them out is the weight. So this is a heavy locomotive. This is comparable to a Bachmann, and a lot of that weight is in the base here. There's a metal underframe here, and it's cold to the touch here now, so you know it's a heavy metal. So that's straight away that sounds and feels very, very good. I do like the EWS Livery, and so if you're a fan of that, then this might be a loco you would be interested in. There is a good level of detail overall on the roof here, the grille effect here. This grille here, actually, you might be able to see through it there. So there's actual grille and you can see through. So that's quite a nice level of detail. And there's a nice level of detail around the front of the locomotive here. And there's directional lights, and there's also a headlight up there, which we'll see when we get this running. It's got nice spring buffers, and they've got metallic ends on them, so which just gives an added nice effect. And then the two bogies either side. So this is a bow configuration, I think, as they call it, which you've got 4 wheels on each bogie, And this type of configuration is quite reliable for model railways. It actually tends to run better than the 6-wheel bogies. You tend to get contact of all the wheels on the rails at all times. You don't tend to get problems at your crossing points, your diamond crossovers, etc. They tend to be more reliable. So it would be interesting to see the performance of this on the layout, how she runs. But that's just a general point with those types. They tend to be a little bit better than their co-brethren with the 6 wheels per bogie. So just looking across the rest of this here, the handrails there are not quite maybe as detailed as you might see on other locomotives. Kind of inset a little bit, but still nice. A nice nameplate there, and some detail at the front. Overall, not bad at all. This locomotive would be the standard class of Hornby locomotive, but not quite at the more expensive end. This tends to be more favorably priced, and we'll talk about the pricing later on. But it is quite reasonably priced in this form, and the addition of a TTS module again makes it a pretty cost-effective means to get a nice looking locomotive with I think what will have a good level of performance. So we'll see that when we round it out. So far so good. I do like the look of this, and I think the next thing we should do is actually let's get this on the layout now, and we can start looking at it in a bit more detail. Okay, we're all set to go here. We've got the lights on, and it's a pretty loud startup, as you can hear. It's pretty impressive sounding. And we're just going through some of the sounds here. There's good sound from this loco. The speaker is located in the bottom section. There's a metal piece at the bottom where it's carrying the speakers, so you get some good sound quality. This is just running with the default volume set, so it gives you kind of an idea of how loud it can be. So we're just going to be getting ready now to get underway. There's an excellent selection of sounds with this locomotive, and again characteristic of most of the Hornby TTSs. So we'll release the brake and let's get underway. We're pulling a mixed rake of Mark II coaches, all of which have got the interior lighting. So we'll start off reasonably slowly, and this locomotive is steady. It's good at low speed, and it's good at higher speeds as well, and it's equally good under DCC. So we'll start speeding things up a little bit. This is a good strong locomotive. I think its pulling power would be pretty impressive. and certainly no issues in any of the testing I've done, any of the time I've had this locomotive. I've never had any issues with derailment, with problems over points or diamonds or anything like that. It's been a very, very solid performer. So we're getting up to around 90% speed, and this guy is, as I said, good and impressive. Just a bit of view in low light, so you can see the lights and get a better view of those, and get a view of the coach lights as well. And the lights are strong in this loco, both the headlights and the directional lights. Good bright LEDs. So we'll just bring this to an end, the run out. Just get her slowing down and bring her to a halt. And we'll turn off the engine so you can get just a feel for what she sounds like powering down. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a good feel for how this guy performs on a real layout. So in summary, this is the Hornby Class 67 locomotive with the locomotive number 67025. One of the latest in terms of the Class 67 series from Hornby, and as I've kind of said already, I do believe it's the best. I have owned some of the earlier Class 67s in the past, and this for me has got the best level of detail, it's got the best level of weight. The TTS sound is good, and the lighting is the best of the series so far. So they've been gradually enhancing these locomotives, and this one is one of the better ones. It has say directional lighting and also the headlighting, which is good. The performance of the locomotive I think is very good, and all around I'm pretty pleased with that. I think the level of detailing is good, is on the good side. It wouldn't be to the same level as maybe the top end of the Bachmanns or the Murphy models, but I still is more than acceptable, and there's an overall good feel of this motor locomotive between the strong weight and the nice real grille effects. I do like those. I like that see-through on the grille there. You can really see it's a real grille effect. The spring buffers at either end, all of these I think add up to make this quite a nice locomotive, and something worth having. It's 8-pin DCC ready, and as you've seen, we've run this with its TTS module installed, and I think the performance of the TTS module is very good as well. So the combination is an excellent combination, and the Hornby have done a couple of these locomotives with the TTS pre-installed. People may remember one of the Karen Gorham locomotive, which is a blue locomotive, which has TTS pre-installed, and that was available for a very reasonable price for quite a while from some of the vendors, and it's not available as cheaply these days, but that was really quite a bargain with the TTS installed. Still, I think the pricing on this one, you'll get it in the price range of anything from say the mid-80s to in terms of pounds, up to around about 130, 135 pounds. It is worth shopping around. You do see it around the 100 mark, and I think if you can pick this up for less than 100 pounds, I think it is excellent value. And with the addition of the TTS module for 35 to 40 pounds, you have a very nice sound locomotive with full sound capability, high performing locomotive for around about 140 pounds, and I think that's very reasonable. Okay, so let's look at the scoring for the Class 67 Western Star. Performance wise, I'm giving it a 4.5 star. I think overall the performance is good, as you'll have seen, and it's right up there. I'm very pleased with it, and it certainly, I think Hornby have come a long way with this type of locomotive. The weight obviously helps. No problem running over any of the points or the diamonds. Very smooth, and a good performer, high and low speed. You know, just probably a little bit at the low speed end. It would probably fall away against, say, some of the Bachmanns and the Murphy models, which would just be, I'd say, top of the range. But overall, a very good performing locomotive. So very pleased, and I have no qualms about it from a performance perspective. And then just in terms of the appearance, I like the livery, and I suppose maybe that's personal taste, but it is nicely done, a nice finish. There's a reasonable level of detail on this model. As I said, I really do like this grille effect here with the kind of engine appearing inside. So that's very nice. The lighting that they have is good, and you know, not an awful lot of detail in terms of the bogies and some of the underframe. But still a very good model, I think, and you know, a good, nice, realistic model. And even a bit of weathering might be nice to add yourself, but that's really up to the individual taste. But so on appearance, I'm giving it a 4-star, which is pretty good overall. So that's a very good score for a model like this. Then looking at the sound, it is TTS, so when you do install it, it's a TTS. So that does reduce your flexibility in terms of the number of sounds that you can play, but there is a good selection in terms of the number of sounds available for this module. I think the sound quality for as a TTS module is good. So really, I'm probably giving it the highest score I can give to a TTS module, which is a 4, and I would say that's a very high score for a module like this and a locomotive like this. So that's a good score. In terms of extra features, there really isn't an awful lot of extras. You do have the lighting and the directional lighting. Earlier models of the Class 67s wouldn't have had the headlights, so that's new. So it's one of the reasons for getting one of the newer models. It's also got the nice spring buffer effects, and they're, as I said, with a metallic on the outside. And that just adds just that extra bit of realism. It's nice to have that. So I'm only giving it a 2 because there's a lot of not a lot of other extras with it out of the box. But you know, I still think those features are good features. I would certainly want to have them. So really happy enough overall with that. In terms of the packaging and documentation, I think the Ice Cube packaging is a good form of packaging. It does give a lot of protection to the locomotive, and the outer box is. I do like this format from Hornby, and it's similar to, I suppose, what Bachmann have now as well. And I would certainly see it in preference to, say, the old styrofoam type packaging that you might have seen in older locomotives. And I actually prefer it a little bit to the Murphy models packaging, which I think is a little bit awkward sometimes getting the locomotive out of the package, particularly with the Murphy models having so much detail. I actually would have preferred this type of packaging for the Murphy models locomotives. So the documentation is a very basic maintenance sheet, comes with the unit. When you get the sound upgrade, you get the good quality documentation for the sound module when you do purchase that piece, which it is extra. So I'm giving it a 4 overall in terms of packaging and documentation. I think it's good, and you know, so no qualms about that. So the overall score for this locomotive, I'm giving it a 4 overall, and I am giving it a recommended. And I think it's a good running locomotive. It's a nice looking locomotive, a very cost effective option with TTS Sound. And if you are somebody who is a fan of the EWS locomotives and rolling stock, etc., well, then this is certainly something to consider for your more modern locomotives if you're modelling the more modern era. It is a good runner. I don't think you'll be disappointed. I'm not. It's part of my collection and it's staying there, and so I give it a recommended, and you know, maybe for some people they would prefer other liveries. There probably aren't a lot of livery options for the latest version of this Class 67, so that may be the only slight drawback. If you're not happy with the options that are available, then it may not be an option for you. So hence it's a recommended rather than a highly recommended. But overall, very, very pleased with this locomotive, and I think if you are a fan, as I said, of this type of livery, I would have no hesitation in saying to go out there and get this. You'll be happy with the performance, of this locomotive, and it should give you a good long life of running on your layout. So I hope you enjoyed the review for today. Would welcome any comments that you have. Also interested to hear if you have one of these locomotives, what you think about it. And also, if you're not a subscriber, if you can subscribe to the channel, that would be great. And I have quite a few additional reviews coming up, so be interested in those. And if you do like the video, say please give it a thumbs up, and we'll hopefully see you on one of these videos again in the near future. Okay, thanks for watching.